Thanks for joining us here. The goal for you, Ryan, is to explain, because kind of like as a new agent, and ultimately speak to those agents who are, coming into the industry, as well as anybody who's younger, kind of a bit about your success. So I have here that you're part of our team here. You're 18 years old. You sold 23 policies in your first 15 days with us, and you also sold 29 policies in your first month. Take us back to, how you got started with life insurance, what you were doing before you started working with us, what your results there, and then ultimately kind of your journey as a new agent.
Yeah, thanks, Peter. So honestly, just starting off, I'm 18, so you hear 18, you're like, oh my gosh, wait, can't you be in high school at 18? And truth is, yeah, I graduated 2023, so I've only been out of high school since May of 2023. So I've been out for a little bit, not too long. I think what maybe 7 months.
Hmm.
So as soon as I got out of high school, I was in contact with someone that was in the final expense space, and it sounded like a good opportunity, so I jumped into it, and I went and got my licensing for Illinois because that's where I'm from. Got the licensing, hopped into it, got into trainings, just started getting involved. I wasn't fully committed to it for a few months, just because I was still working a regular job, just making minimum wage, and then trying to learn the skill of sales in the meantime, so I could transition to doing that full time. And I was in that for about 3 months, I'd say, after I started selling, and I seen some results there, on paper at least. Oh hey, I sold 10K AP the first week, and
Hmm.
7 policies. It was great, right? I thought I was doing the right thing. Um, and they won't drop the IMO that I was with, but one of those three-letter ones. And
Yeah.
yeah, I was with them, and the training, like, I feel like there was some good people in there, but at the same time the trainings wasn't where it needed to be. I was given a lot of false information when I did start. I wasn't told what the industry really was. I was kind of jumping in blind, trusting the person that I got into it with, and to some degree, I knew they wanted me to succeed. I'm still friends with them. They're a good person. But at the end of the day, it just wasn't the opportunity that I was really looking for, where I could sit down and focus on my sales skills, because I was too focused on everything else in the business, whether you're working with callbacks, calling the actual insurance carriers. So it wasn't what I was really looking for. And then that's when I did start looking around for another opportunity, and did run into the Mr. Peter Roberts himself, and got in contact with you. And then from there, just went through the process of intake, learning, training, and that's when I feel like things changed for me. By then I really knew what the industry was about, and I just jumped into it head first, and trained as much as I could. Um, all my time was being devoted to that. I didn't do anything. I stayed inside, literally just training all day, running sales calls, mock calls, whatever it was, just to make sure that I was getting to where I needed to be, so I didn't fail. Because truth is, um, I feel like it's really hard to fail in this situation if if you just put in the work. So it's really
Yeah.
what it comes down to, is putting in the work and just getting everything done
Yeah.
that you need to.
Yeah. And what was the results like? So be like, now that you know the transparency of the industry, a lot of people like flex. Oh, I submitted 10,000. Like, what did it actually look like for you now? Like, you have nothing to lose now. Like, after the chargebacks, after lead calls, after the hours, like, did you end up making even money? Like, you probably posted on the leaderboard that you were doing well. You probably felt really good, right? But did your bank account grow?
Yeah, great question. So yeah, I was posting on the leaderboards. You seen first weekend, 5Ks, 10K AP, and I was like, oh my God, this kid's doing so good from the outside review. And I felt great because all of my mentors, the people that were, teaching me, they were telling me I was doing great, right? I was selling
Hmm.
policies. I thought I was doing good. But the truth is, I was seeing the deposits in my bank account, right? I might get the $1,500 for the sale. I might get the $1,200 for the sale. And then 2 weeks later, you're getting an email from the carrier, hey, it's chargeback time. The person didn't make their first payment. And you're like, what are you talking about? And
Hmm.
that's something I found myself in. And to be honest with you, I probably broke even, or maybe a little bit negative, probably a little bit negative on the chargebacks there. And I just finally got everything cleared out with
Hmm.
that. So um,
Gotcha. So
yeah,
you were working through, you were making the sales, but you found out that you didn't make any money. Was that like through a month that you like were there for that company?
yeah, it took about
Okay.
a month for all the chargebacks to occur and come
Yeah.
through.
So you felt good, and then you came in with us, kind of just had the blueprint, had the script, were able to sell, 23 policies in 15 days. I think you made like 2 grand your first, like 12 days or something crazy. Actual profit. What actually helped you learn how to sell? Because I mean, you're young. I could tell. Like, we've brought in young people in the past that just, you're motivated, you're hungry. But how did you learn sales? Whether if it's before us or with us, like how did you connect or like find? Because Do you think you can train someone to be good at sales, or was it something that you've learned in the past that helped you become successful, like actually, getting good at selling?
Yeah, I think anyone could be good at sales. Truth be
Okay.
told, I think anyone can be good at sales. I think what you need, as someone, if I were to teach a new person, all they would need is they'd have to have grit. They would
Mhm,
not have to, they can't give up. You can't, like, sales is a process where you're realistically probably not going to see results in your first 6 months of learning sales because you're just learning, right? And you have
mhm,
to be open minded with that. Like, be open to constructive criticism. You have to, like, be completely open minded with that, or else you're just gonna be closed off. Because truth is, if you hop on the phone, someone that's never done sales, you're gonna sound terrible, and that's okay. But as long as you know you sound terrible and you want to get better, that's where the growth starts. So I feel like it starts, number one is with the person that you're training and that's learning, saying, hey, acknowledging the issue. Hey, I want to get good at this. I'm not good at this, but I will get
mhm.
good at this. And then you just learn.
Yeah.
You take the advice from the people that are teaching you, and then boom, you're in there.
How much do you think someone needs to be trained as a new agent? Because you came in and you probably seen a lot of agents fail, and you see how hard the industry is. You're selling an invisible product to, and now you have your age, and you think that your voice is like people can hear it. I think you sound great on your sales calls, but like how much training do you think you need? Like, what did it look like for you for an agent to become successful? I think like understanding how can you be successful. You see people like developing the skill of sales. What did you do to like learn the skill? Like, was it, reading the script? Because you were showing up on, I knew that you were going to be good before you even started, because when you're getting contracted with us, you were showing up and you were listening to live sales calls. You were listening to the team. You were typically on the training calls because you want to learn better. But what are some things that, agents need to become successful, knowing what it was like when you didn't succeed and now when you actually succeed? What are core few things that agents must have?
Number one, I think the biggest thing for me that I didn't have in the other IMO is it's super simple too. Just work recording your calls and listening to them.
I love that.
I mean, when you go through a sales process, you think that you're doing everything right on the phone, and then you actually go back and listen to the call, and you're like, hey, like, I didn't sound good here. I didn't have a good tonality here. I didn't say the right thing here, and that's when you could go back and reflect on it.
Mhm,
Um, but honestly, I honestly the main thing I would focus on if I was a new agent that helped me is, when you get into a sales call and you maybe have a mentor that's teaching you sales and he's telling you what you did right and wrong. There's probably going to be a lot of things you did wrong, and that's okay,
mhm,
but you can't get overwhelmed with it. And that's something I didn't do. I didn't get overwhelmed with it. And you just have to pinpoint one thing, say, hey, this day I want to get better at tonality, or I want to get better at how I say my intro. Like, you have to pinpoint one thing each day, or even every 2 days. Just focus on
mhm.
getting this better so you slowly improve your process. It's not something that's gonna happen overnight. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah,
It's not gonna happen overnight. So you have to pinpoint, at least it worked for me, pinpointing one thing each day to work on to get better. And
yeah,
eventually, a week or two down the line, your sales process is gonna improve drastically. And then from there, I feel like there's a week or two in a beginner stage where you're just learning, just trying to take in all the information you can. And after those 2 weeks, it's like rapid growth. You start seeing easier, you're able to detect your issues earlier, and then that's how you
mhm.
just fix them.
What are some red flags that you should like that helps you realize like, man, maybe I am not in a good like opportunity. Like, 'cause a lot of people are stuck in there. I was stuck in a similar situation for a really long time. Like, if you're like, how would you know like you're not in a good position that you need to like look for a change if you're with a company right now and you're selling life insurance?
The easiest thing that I can say is if you're looking to your upline and they can't show you their bank account, or they can't show you, what they've made, that's probably the
Mhm.
number one thing. Number two is, if you're not getting coached, coaching is so huge.
Yeah.
You can't jump into this and not get coached. And then number three is, I would also say transparency. If they can't tell you every question, if they don't have an answer to every single one of
That's
your
good.
questions, there's probably something going on, because that's how it was for me. I was confused. I was like, hey, why is this way? Why is this way? No one had answers for me.
Mhm.
They were just like, hey, buy these leads. I'm like, why? What's so good about these leads compared to everything else? And they couldn't give me an answer. So that raised a flag in my head. And it took me, I'm very fortunate. It only took me a month to realize what I was in. So um yeah, just, I mean, transparency. If they can't tell you about every single thing
Yeah.
in the policy, in this, and you don't, if you questions they can't answer them, what mentor are they if they can't answer your questions? That's what they're
Yeah.
supposed to be there for.
Love that. Thanks for sharing that. I think it's so important to have someone who's gone where you actually want to go or has real results. So that's huge. In regards to like your own sales process and like helping someone sell, you have great energy, and I think I knew that you had the ability to sell at a high level. What are some of your strengths that helped you sell, nearly 30 policies in your first month with us? Going through training. learning new skills, like learning adapting to a whole new system. What helped you get there? You can kind of just talk about some of the strengths that you have in your sales process that could help others as well.
Yeah. Well, first off, setting the tone in the intro. I feel like that's my best part of it. Just coming in the
Mhm.
intro with high energy, because most of these other agents are gonna come in the call. Hey, this is Ryan. How's it going? I'm calling you about this, and it's so monotone. And I was the same way. I was taught that way initially. Be monotone.
Monotone.
Act like you
Okay.
hate your job, and it's not the case. These people, they don't want to be on the phone with somebody boring, right? And the truth is like I was told, at least in the other three-letter IMO, that these people, they want to be on the phone quick, they want to get it done over with, but the truth is that's not how good clients are. Good clients, they want to build a relationship with you. They want to have fun on the phone. They want to crack jokes. And that's the thing too. You also have to add personality to it. So don't be afraid to say something
It's
a little
good.
out of pocket. Make a joke, right? I make jokes in every couple minutes, right? Just small
Yeah.
ones. Keep it on track, keep the ball rolling, but throw in something there so they don't feel like they're talking to a robot. So number one, high energy intro. I come in, I get my voice a little high pitched. I might sound like a 12-year-old. It's okay. But you know what? Like you've got to just bring that, because they're like, hey, wait, this guy's different. I just had a lady yesterday on my sales call. I sold her, and she had talked to like over 20 agents. She's like, I can't get approved. They're boring me. They just don't have answers to my questions. And every question that she asked, I was able to answer. So that's number two, is product knowledge. Be the best at knowing what you are selling. If you are not confident with what you're selling, you're not going to sell it. It's that simple. So you have to like know, in insurance, in this case, medical underwriting is huge. If you
Mm,
can't find the coverage for somebody, if they tell you all their medical conditions and you still find a coverage or it's the wrong one, they don't get approved to that company. It happens occasionally, it does. But you want to be as best as you can. Make sure that 99% of the time you're putting them in the position where you know that they're going to get approved, number one. And number two, you have to be able to answer the questions. If they have something about, the automatic premium loan, or if they have something about the cash value, like you have to be able to answer those questions so they feel confident in you. You have to also show that confidence in your response. So you can't be like, if they ask you, hey Ryan, what's the automatic premium loan? Oh yeah, it's just something where 12 months down the line, if you have this. No, you have to be upbeat. You have to sound upfront about it, and then they're going to trust you more on it because you're
yeah.
sounding confident with your response. I mean, I feel like that's the biggest thing. Tonality in the intro, bringing the energy, making sure that they know you're not just a regular person. You're going to help them. And then number two is definitely the tonality of sounding confident when you need to, especially in your pitch. That's also super big, is in your pitch. When you're pitching your three options, if you're pitching the company you're putting them with, sound confident. That was my issue moving in, and I feel like my sales process got so much better once I realized that you need to sound confident there.
What were some mistakes that you made, that some things that you were doing in the past that made absolute no sense? You talked about like the monotone, being trained to sound monotone like you hate your job. I think that's the worst sales advice that someone could ever give you. I love how you talk about building that relationship, because that's what people want. People want to buy from people they like, people that they know. But what is like a few other pieces that, like, looking back, that you were doing that made absolutely no sense that you could probably help someone who's might be doing that right now? Anything come to mind?
Yeah, I mean the monotone was the biggest one for sure. That's a pretty loaded question, because I feel like it's funny looking back at now for me, but there are people that really do struggle with that stuff, and I was in that situation at one point. So honestly, it's the monotone for sure. Just because
Maybe the
people, I was.
products too. Touch on that too. Like, you don't have to drop carrier names, but
Mhm.
making sure that you're structured with, like, what have you seen? Have you seen it's easier to sell when you have a good product to sell?
Oh, of course. Of course. And the thing is that with, I won't name drop carriers or anything like that, but the other IMO, I was selling with products that were well known. They were well, they're companies, they were well known, but they didn't have the best rates. And the thing is that I was told they had the best rates. So when I got on the phone with somebody with the other IMO and I was like, hey, this is what they're offering you, $50 for 10,000 or whatever. And, they're like, no, I got quoted this for this, and it was cheaper. And I was like, no, and you sound stupid, because they know that's what they heard, and you have to. The client's always right. So you also, that's another thing too in the sales process. You have to make sure that you're not attacking the client. You always have to ask questions instead of like saying, hey, do you know this? And that was a big change for me too, that I just recently learned, is that you have to ask a question. So if the client's like, hey, well, they got me this coverage, and you're like, huh, really? Did they tell you that? This, you can't say, did they tell you? You'd be like, oh, is this? You have to ask a question rather than just jump straight to it, being say, hey, you can't get qualified for that. Why they do that? You have to
Mm,
you have to ask, hey, did the agent tell you about this? Did they inform you on this? So it's a question asking game. But no, products is huge. If you can't trust your product, if you don't have, you can sell a product that's not the best on the market. It's going to be a little bit harder, but the thing is, you need to build the value. If you can build the value, you can sell anybody. If someone I was just sold yesterday, the same lady I was talking about earlier, she's on a fixed budget. She's like, I don't want to go over $60, and then you provide the value. She ended up wanting to go with an option that was $70 a month. Why?
Yeah.
Because you build the value. You explain, this is what this is going to do for you, Miss Barry or Miss Mary. This is what
Mhm.
this is going to do for you. It's going to change your family. It's going to make sure your family is going to be in a good position. You build the value, explain the benefits, explain everything in a clear tone, and they're going to buy from you.
Yeah. I love that. And I think it's just important and part of the sales process too is like the discipline that you must have. I think even inside of our organization, like I feel like we like to stress, like you have to work really, really hard. What is it? What do you think it takes for an agent to become successful? Like, what is their day? How do you structure your day? What are some of your metrics that you like to track? And like, what are some like non-negotiables that you have for yourself that help you become successful by doing the work? What does that look like?
So inside of our organization specifically, when I started, I did what I told myself, hey, this is an opportunity that's really good for you. You really need this. This is good, and you have to acknowledge that first. If you are still iffy, kind of cloudy in your head of like, is this going to be good for me? It's probably not. You should know.
Yeah, it's good.
So I knew from the start, hey, this like I seen you on YouTube. And I was like, hey, this guy's got it figured out. I want to work for this person, and I knew that from the start. So I did whatever I had to do. Going through the interview process, having the best interviews I possibly could, and then jumping into it, being as active as you possibly can. My days when I was starting, it looked at waking up 7 in the morning. You're on the morning meeting at 8. You're in there. You're hopping on the live sales calls before you have the contracting, and then you're just jumping straight into it, right? You're just literally putting as much time as you physically can. You might take 15 minutes, 20 minutes to eat, but I was at my desk all day, every day. Even to this day, my schedule, what it looks like for me is I wake up at 7. I'm in the morning meeting at 8. 8:30. I'll take a half an hour break. I start dialing at 9. I dial from 9 to 7. I'll have a few, 10, 15-minute breaks in here, bathroom break, whatever it is. But I'm on the phones. That's my working hours. And I don't let anybody bother me. I don't have any other distractions during those hours. Some days it's a little bit different. You might have a doctor's appointment, whatever it is. That's okay. But
Mhm.
you just have to be locked in. And mentally, I'm not satisfied. I will keep going. If I get 2 deals, I'm happy. It's a good day, but you push for 3, at least for
Yeah,
my case scenario. 3 is like, hey, if I hit 3, I can kind of chill out a little bit. Maybe you stop working a little bit earlier if I want to. But then again, I guess how I am is like, okay, you got 3, might as well just get 4. Knock it out. Save yourself time for
yeah,
tomorrow. Maybe not have to work on Saturday. So that's a big thing. And jumping into a fresh opportunity, you have to be able to work Sundays. You
yeah,
have to be able to give up Sundays because if you don't want it, there's someone that's going to work the Sundays. There's someone that's always
yeah.
going to be trying to work harder for you, taking your spot, and you just can't let it happen. It's a competition at the end of the day.
Yeah, we're here to push and grow, and we're a high performance team, so you fit right well into that. In regards to before, what was the most policies you did in a week? Like I think the most that you did with us was like 15 in a week, right? What was the most that you did that week? Was it 15
It was
or
12.
it
I
was
did
12?
12.
Okay,
Yeah.
12. So you did 12, and what was the most that you've done before? And what has helped you like go from what you've done in the past to like doing 12 over 10 deals in a week?
Yeah, so the most I did previously before working with LFL is I did 5. I did 5 in a week, and that was my
Okay,
first week
well,
I jumped into it. The second week I did 2. It was a slower week, and then after that I realized the opportunity I was in, so I was like, I gotta go, I gotta get out of here. But no, how in order to go 5 sales a week to 12 sales a week, my process was terrible back then. I was just
Mm,
selling people because they wanted the product, whatever. I wasn't building any value. It was a terrible sales call. If I go back and I had recordings of them, I would laugh at them now. But it was a growing experience. So you
yeah,
put you realize, hey, I did good with this. But really, to go from 5 to 12 is a sales process. Everything's got to change. I started caring for my clients way more. It wasn't just AP on the leaderboard. You have to have care. If you don't have an urge to genuinely help people, I don't know if there's opportunities for you. I can tell you that right now because at the end of the day, like it's easy to write terrible policies. It's easy to write fraudulent policies, but it's hard to write good policies with clients and make sure that they're in a good position, they're happy, building good relationships with them. It's not easy. Like this space is not easy. Anyone can learn it, but it's not easy. So
hmm
really the
yeah.
sales process.
I think it's one of the hardest things to sell. You're selling broke, poor people an invisible product that they'll never see. So it takes,
Mhm.
a high level of skill. And why, like even being young, you probably go on YouTube, you see all these videos. A guy makes 80,000 or
Oh yeah.
60,000 in a month. Like, being young, like, what, and everyone wants to make all the money, work from home. It's like sexy. It's being young. We buy the Lambos, all the nice cars. But what, like, What does it feel like knowing that you can actually help people and do it like a right way, an ethical way? Like, what are your goals in the industry now, knowing where you were and where you want to go? Like, what are you trying to achieve, especially at your age?
I mean, first of all, I don't look at age too much just because, I know that at the end of the day, I put in the work and I do what I have to do to make sure I get where I got to be. So I don't, really, I don't like looking at age as much. I mean, of course, it is a real thing. There's a lot of immature people that are 18 that
Yeah.
aren't ready for this. That's the truth of the matter. But there are, the 1% that is going to be ready for this. And I think that at a young age, you can't get influenced by what everybody else is seeing. That's something I learned just, outside of sales as well, is that you can't like compare your life to other people, that you start in different situations, you have different routes to get to where you're going to be.
Yeah.
So you can't compare it. Like, you might be doing okay and you might look at online and see Iman Gadzhi 23 making all this money, but it doesn't matter. Like, everyone has a different route. So as long as you're doing the best that you can and you know that genuinely in your mind, you're going to get where you need to go. But yeah, I mean, you have to come down to reality a little bit. And, I feel like the most important thing focusing on at this young age is learning a skill, right? So that's
Yeah.
why I got into sales initially, is I wanted to learn the skill of sales because I feel like it could help me in all aspects of my life. And it did. Conversations are better. I'm getting in contact with more higher quality people. It really changes your life when you really just narrow down, sit down, and say, hey, this is what I need to do. Have a serious
Hmm.
conversation with yourself and learn the skill. Um, but as far as in the industry for other young people, yeah, you can't get influenced by that stuff. You have to know that what you're in is gonna be good for you, and you just have to. There's a phase where you're gonna go through. You're not gonna make a lot of money. I didn't make a lot of money initially, right? Because you go through the contracting and you're like, you know, start doing some calls and here and there, but
Hmm.
you're not gonna make a lot when you first start. You have to be okay with that. The money will come later. You can't be focused on that. If you're focused on the money, you're not gonna succeed. You have to be focused on doing right by people and helping them. But as far as my goals moving forward, dude, just help as many people as I physically can. There's a
Yeah.
lot of people out there in the world that need you. There's a lot of people out there in the world that have bad policies that need good ones. You got to help them. And even if
Yeah.
some people are stubborn, you know how it is in the calls. They're stubborn. They don't want to give up. They're social in the application or something, or they're giving you objections. And at the end of the day, like, if you know you can put them in a better place, fight for those people. And sometimes it bites me in my butt, but you know
Mhm.
what? If you have a genuine need to help these people, you're gonna do well.
Yeah. I love that, man. You're here to serve and help others. I want to go through. I want to give them a little juice, a little sales juice here for us. If you had to sell me a life insurance policy, how do you pitch your options? Like, how would it go? So, like, let's say you have three options: a 10, a 15, and a $30,000 option. What is your like? How do you close people? What does that look like?
So my personal trick that I like to do that is super super important is telling them what it's going to do for them. So
Hmm.
Peter, if I'm on the phone with you and I'm saying, hey, the first option, this is a starter option, this is a $10,000 option, what this is going to do for you, this is going to make sure your family will never have to come out of their pocket. They're never going to have to reach into their own pocket, be burdened by that on a 3-day notice. They're never going to have to reach into the pocket of others if they have to start a GoFundMe. Really just showing what this plan would do for them in their
Hmm.
situation. And it's custom to every single client. So you
Yeah.
have to make sure that, you're building value, you're finding out as much information in the discovery where you're learning, hey, all right, Miss Betty, she's this. She has a husband. Her husband's responsible. If she doesn't have coverage, her husband can't pay for it. He's going to go into debt. He's going to have to take out a bank loan, and really showing how bad it could possibly get if she doesn't get this, and showing them, hey, if you get this in place and you're responsible with this, none of that happens. You're okay. You can go to
Hmm.
bed at night and sleep good. You can get your 8 hours of sleep, no worries, right? So, I mean, that's the biggest thing for me is like when you pitch your options, just show what it's going to do for them. If it's a 15, and hey, the 15,000, this is the most common option, right? This is going to make sure that your family will never have to come out of pocket for the expenses, never reach into the pocket of others. Your daughter, you might be able to help her out, pay for her first car. You might set her up in this position, maybe pay for, a semester of college. I mean, college is expensive these days, but I don't know how much, a
Community
couple thousand
college.
dollars is going to do for a semester, but maybe they're going to junior college, help them get a good head start in life, right? And
Yeah.
just really break down what it's going to do for them. And I feel like
Mhm.
once you do that, you build enough value in the product pitching as well.
Yeah.
That's a big thing too. You have to be confident in your product. Hey, this policy right here, this company, this is the best option for you out of the statewide. This is the best option. This is what this is going to do for you, and you break it down in the sales pitch of what it's going to do for them. I feel like that's the most important thing is, and that's I feel like one of my strong suits as well is making sure that they know what this policy is going to do, how this is going to change their life.
Yeah. how's going to solve the problem, and ultimately knowing that you have the best options to sell them, so that you're not like what you used to do, feel like you're swindling them, or
Hmm.
not. Like, we know that we're putting people in the best position, which is awesome. Cool. I want to go through a little last thing here for you, is like a little rapid fire. Just a few questions I think are common in the industry. Like, would you ever go in home, or would you only do this telesales? People do it in home.
There's I you know personally, there's a lot of people that do in home. I feel like if you're doing in home, you have a better opportunity to build value and build a relationship with a client because you're in person, you're face to face with them.
Mhm.
As far as me personally, I would stick to telesales, and the reason being is because if you're in home, you got to drive, you got to take more time. There's less time for contact with clients. And I feel like
Mhm.
telesales, you just click the dial button and you're talking. So I
Yeah.
feel like there's more time there for just not only more sales, but more productivity as well, more learning experiences. You're just on the phone more, you're talking more conversations. That's the only reason I would stay away from in home. But it's good if you want to do in home and you could close at a high rate there. More power to you.
Yeah.
That's honestly, it's I feel like it's better to build relationships in person.
Yeah, and you can build them strong on the phone, but that physical touch is still there. In regards to final expense, would you recommend someone, because there's a lot of different IMOs that go after final expense. I don't know if you ever did mortgage protection or IULs.
Mm-mm.
Um, what final expense. Why do you think final expense is a great product for clients?
Everyone needs it. There's a
Hmm.
demand always. There's never not going to be demand. Everyone, there's only like that's the only certain thing in life is that you're going to pass away,
Hmm.
unfortunately. So honestly, just the fact that it's always needed. You have to get into something. If you're selling, that's also another piece of advice. If you're in sales, find a product that is always going to be in demand.
Hmm.
That way, there's no like droughts, no cold spots. Of course, you're gonna have cold seasons, Christmas, whatever it is, but find a product that's always in demand. So final expense, I feel like it's always in demand. Everyone's got to get buried. Everyone's got to get
Yeah.
cremated. So there's always a need there, and every single person needs it. And if they don't, the next person in the family is going to need it. They're going to
Yeah.
want it at least because they're going to see how not having coverage just to bury their family, they're going to have to start GoFundMe's. And most of them are low income. If most people that are wealthier, they don't really need that just because they can set the money aside. But for the low income families, the people that are on Social Security, like they need this. Their family is going to be burden. They're going to have to start those GoFundMe's. They're going to have to start, selling dinners. So, yeah, just find a product that's in demand, and I feel like final expenses is the way. Not only can you make a nice chunk off of it, but you're helping people, makes you feel good. Number one, and number two is that it's in demand. Everyone needs it. So there's a lot of people out there in the
Mhm.
world that needs help, and I don't think there is enough agents that are doing it right, that are genuinely there to help people. I feel like there's also a lot of bad stuff. So it's you got to be careful with it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, the lack of training, a lot of unethical agents out there. In order to make a life insurance sale over the phone, you must have blank. What would that be?
In order to make personality,
Mhm.
honestly, like you've got to have personality. They don't want to, that's another thing. They don't want just a regular agent. They want the best agent. They want someone that's going to be there for them. When you call them and then they call you, you
Yeah.
got to pick up the phone, be there for them, love on them. You can't just, sell them a policy one time on the phone, and Miss Betty's calling back. Hey, I need to talk to Ryan. I need to do this in my policy, and you're not picking up the phone. Like
Mm,
you've got to be there, and that's
yeah.
that's the truth of the matter. The other IMO I was with, I didn't have any help. No, like nobody else to answer the phones for me if I wasn't there. So
Yeah.
it was terrible, man. You don't pick up the phone, and the next thing you know, you're seeing a chargeback on your thing. You're negative $1,000. Like,
Yeah.
so
Because
it's
you're chasing that next deal. You're chasing the next deal because you have to just, you're keeping your head barely above water, and you're
yeah,
kind of forgetting
exactly.
about the current client. So man. Well, Ryan, for all those people that want to reach out to you, how can they connect with you? And yeah, how can they find you if they ever shoot you a message or anything?
Yeah, I mean, you could put my Instagram in there. It's Ryan.DZIELAWA. My last name's Funky as Polish. So you could find me on there. That's probably where I'm most active. Follow on Instagram. Shoot me a DM if you have any questions. I love helping people. So if you need any
Mhm.
questions, I'll probably get back to you within the same day. There's other people that reach out to me as well. Hey, I'm kickstarting insurance. Their advice. I give them advice on it. Hey, what do I need to do in here? If you need to help tweak on your sales process, man, give me a call. I'll give you advice. Like I'll do what I can. I love seeing other agents win, and just helping you get better at sales process and life in general. It's not
Yeah.
easy. So having the support there for people, I think is important.
Cool, man. Well, thanks for all you do, and thanks for helping and loving on people, and keep crushing it. And we'll see you soon.